This is the best hunter build in the game. Okay, this may sound familiar from you guys because I said that with the Emerald's Light, Signaling Rank to build with hunters. But this is the truth, okay? This is the truth. If y'all remember, I made this build for the OGs. I made this build a year ago where I made a build where hunters can get every buff in the game. And the reason I did that is because I was trying to teach you guys that in RPG games, the best builds when it comes to build crafting is the builds that have the most buffs. And if you don't have buffs on your character, you're weak. The more buffs, the better. And the more debuffs you put on the opponent, the better, right? So I made a build where you get every buff from every subclass, and it was fun. It was nuts, right? We had to use the exotic class item though, Signoracne and Renewal, because there was no other way to get Woven Mail for Hunter outside of that. But now that every artifact is back and Tablet of Ruin is here, we now can get freaking Woven Mail without using Spirit of Signoracne in the exotic class item. So then I was like, okay, what can we pair with Renewal? And then boom, Wormhusk Crown got buff where it gives you Cure and Restoration. So then I was like, oh crap. So now we get Frost Armor and Restoration / Cure without having to go into the other builds and other craftsmanship inside the build. So today I have the ultimate hunter build for you guys. You will get every buff in this build. You will have Restoration, Cure, Radiant for Solar. You will have Bolt Charges and Amplified from Arc. You will have a Void Overshield and Devour from Void. You will have Frost Armor from Stasis. You will have Woven Mail, Sever, and Unraveling from Strand. You have it all. Okay? We could finesse Invis this build, and I'll get to that. But don't worry about that. We don't need that. Okay? So, in today's build, like I said, the exotic class item we are using is Spirit of Renewal. Whenever we throw a Dust Field Grenade and we stand inside of it, we get Frost Armor, 5 stacks Frost Armor, which is 31%, 32% damage resistance. And then we're using Spirit of Wormhusk where we get kills. When we get kills, we get stacks of freaking Burning Souls. And then we use our class ability. We get a different prop based on how many kills we got. If we just do regular Burning Souls, we get Cure times 3. I believe Cure times 2 times 3. When we get 1 stack, we get Cure times 2 and then times 1 Restoration, I believe. No, it's Cure times 1 and then Restoration 1. And then you get 2 stacks, whatever. You get what I'm saying. Max stacks, you get extra Cure and Restoration on. Okay? So this is how we get Restoration and Frost Armor in this build, like I said. Then the armor stats you want to go for in this build is basically 100 everything, because you want to be able to spam your abilities non-stop. You're not really using anything that do dumb damage. You just want to, it's a grind game basically. So we're running 100 melee, so we get our melee back quick as possible. 100 grenade back quick as possible. 80 super, because we are running a super font in this build. You always got armor charges in this build, don't worry. 100 class, so we also have our class ability on, but I want to say always pour a little bit extra inside your class just so you get that 50% damage reduction overshield whenever you use your class ability. So we're running 106 class stat, but we also run a font mod in our class item. And then we have on 100 weapon stat. If you get higher than 100, then by all means do that, because then you can do more damage to bosses. Okay, the armor set we are running, which is very important, is Atheon's Memory. This is the Vault of Glass armor, which is S tier. Basically, while you have elemental buffs on you, subclass buffs on you, when you do sustained damage, you get an orb power on you. It's basically attrition orb, but better, because it works with any type of damage you do. Unraveling, jolt, all that, okay? And the orb spawns on you, not where the enemy is at. So this is perfect for faster to purpose in this build, so we can always have an elemental buff on us with that, and it's just an infinite loop, okay? The other armor set you could use if you just want to pour really into the having every elemental buff in this build, you can go with the King's Fall armor, the Oryx armor, which basically, when you get red health, the 4-piece, when you get red health, you automatically go invisible and the enemies get less accuracy on you, okay? And then of course the 2-piece make that you get more ammo generation, right? So it's not a bad pick either. So if you just want to pour into that fantasy, by all means go to King's Falls armor. But if you want to be like powerful, then Vault of Glass armor. Substitute, if you don't have this, I recommend, of course, Exodus down armor. You get 30% damage reduction from doing a finisher move on somebody to eat all the 3 armor charges, and you keep that 30% on you, right? Now, the weapon we're running in this build is Buried Bloodline. Buried Bloodline gives us Devour from us getting kills with it, okay? Multiple final blows, this weapon grants you Devour. It's like 2 kills. You get 2 kills, 2 or 3 kills. I'm pretty sure it's 2 though, but it depends on the ranking of the enemy you kill. But you'll get Devour in this build, so this is how we get Devour prop. And then if you got the Catalyst done, which is also good, I'll let you know why. While Devour is active, this weapon weakens on hits. So in the artifact Tablet of Ruin, if you weaken somebody, you get a Void Overshield. So this is gonna be giving you Devour and a Void Overshield from just shooting the weapon. Okay, that's the weapon choice we're using in this build. And then I just got on like a strand weapon. Synchronic Roulette is the best strand weapon for dealing barrier champions and whatnot. And it got Attrition Orb and Chaos Reshape, so it's very strong. I'm just using this to pour into the strand fantasy inside Tablet of Ruin. And then my heavy is just whatever I want to use for good damage, okay? Now, if you don't care about devouring this build, which you don't have to have, okay? Okay, this is literally just for the power fantasy, okay? But you do not need devouring this build if you don't want to. By all means, you can throw on something like Vex Mytho class and then throw on Festival Flight. Vex Mytho class is a dumb strong primary weapon to use in harder-end content, especially dealing with like barrier champions. And then Festival Flight, Attrition Orb, Slice, help you get your Dark Transcendence bar up immediately. Just keep shooting Vex Mytho class and you'll be spamming Transcendence nonstop. So you can go this route, or you can be like, I want to use Compact Defender, for example. Get that Void Overshield from just shooting a Void weapon with the artifact, right? And then your heavy slot is open. You can throw on something like Truth. So then you can go crazy shooting Truth at bosses and whatnot and clearing ads. There are multiple ways you can run this build when it comes to weapons. But if you want to do the power fantasy where you have every buff, like I said, then you would go Buried Bloodline to get Devour in this build, okay? Now, artifact. We're running 2 shreds. 2 shreds, how we're going to get Woven Mail in this build. Dealing sustain them to several targets, unravel them, defeating several targets, make Woven Mail hotspots. We're going to be severing people with Threaded Spike. We throw our melee, bounce off people, they sever for 10 seconds, we kill them, boom, Woven Mail spot is out there. But also too, we have on Horror Shuttle, where damaging unravel targets with a weapon occasionally spawn Threatlings, and Threatlings sever targets that they damage. So the Threatlings is going to be severing people for us as well. And then we get Unraveling from Unraveling Orbs. Pick up any orbs, which we're going to be making non-stop with the Vault of Glass armor on us, and the Attrition Orbs from Synchronic Roulette. We will have Unraveling Orbs for that strand weapon 24/7, and if you do something like Festival Flight, something like that, it'll be getting it because of the Vault of Glass armor as well if you're using that. But that'll do combo here, get Unravel, and then you done them to unravel people, make Threatlings, they sever, and then you come over here, they sever, and then they make Woven Mail, okay? And then also too, if we damage someone that severed, they get Unravel, and then that combo with Horror Shuttle make it Threatlings, okay? Infinite combo. We're running Defibrillating Blast because we will be popping Ascension in this build to get amplified, and this will jolt anybody that we hit with it. So this makes that when we stun champions, we get max bolt charges to deal damage to trigger a stronger bolt charge from that, right? But we'll also be getting healed from doing that. So this is extra survivability, get a chunk of health whenever we trigger a bolt charge, right? We get on flashover, this powers up the damage of that bolt charge, and we get amplified whenever we get max bolt charge. So whenever we do stun a champion, we're gonna get amplified, okay? And then lastly, Dielectric. The second part do not work in this artifact, just the first part. Defeating arc debuffs target, get bolt charge. So every time we hit somebody with Ascension and then we kill them because they jolted, we'll get stacks of bolt charges. And then if you're running something like Festival Flight and you shoot an enemy with it, you'll get your bolt charge stacks up very quick, and then you can trigger the bolt charge to get health from the Defibrillating Blast. Very broken. And like I said, we got Malign Harvest on. This says applying weaken provides a small Void Overshield. So every time you shoot with Buried Bloodline, you will be getting a Void Overshield because the weakens on its own when you got Devour on. Okay. Subclass. We're rocking Tether so we can suppress, not suppress, well, it does suppress, but to tether the enemy, make us do 35% more damage to them, do more damage to the boss and whatnot, kill a group of ass together. But also too, this will stack with Faster to Purpose, So every time we pick up or power, we get a void overshield. Void overshield give us 70% damage reduction and extra health. So that's why I went with this. With the Vault of Glass armor on, we will be getting a void overshield 24/7. So you literally is unkillable with this build, with the amplified on already, and void overshield, restoration from worm crown, worm husk crown, whatever. The cure that you're gonna get from worm husk, right? Um, Triggering bolt charges give us health, just health everywhere, damage reduction everywhere, right? And then also too, we did make sure our HP stat is at least 20. So when we do pick up all the ore power, we do get chunks of HP from picking up these ores of power. I know, the first time the health stat is actually relevant. I know. Okay, but you also could go golden gun if you just want to opt in on golden gun, a damaging super. You would just get restoration 24/7. Again, you got so much damage reduction in this build with Woven Mill and stuff. You're gonna be good. Okay, so you can run golden gun if you want to. That's the only two supers I would recommend. Okay. We're rocking Acrobat Dodge. This is how we get Radiant in this build so that our weapon do 20% more damage. And that's all the solar buffs out the way, okay? We got Threaded Spike to sever an enemy, so we make Woven Mail hotspots and whatnot. So there you go. All the Woven Mail, all the strand buffs out the way as well. We have on Dustfield Grenade. We stand inside of it. We get Frost Armor because of the exotic class item. And then also, too, any enemies that's inside the Dustfield Grenade do less damage, too. So if you sever an enemy like the boss and then throw the Dustfield Grenade on them, he's gonna be tickling you, okay? The boss gonna be tickling you because you got frost armor up. He taking less damage because he's inside the Dustfield Grenade, and he's severed. He doing even less damage to you. And then you got all the other damage reduction you have on, like amplified and stuff on. So and void overshield stuff. So the boss really gonna be tickling you while you're doing constant damage to the boss. You're gonna always have void overshield on you because of the Vault of Glass armor. Okay, so boom, that's all the stasis buffs out the way. Okay, we have on Winter Shroud. Whenever we dodge or pop Ascension, because it does work with Ascension now. Slowing targets it slows targets, and slowing targets make our class ability come back even quicker. I think it's like 300% quicker whenever we hit the slow on somebody, right? But also too, every time we pop Winter Shroud, we get 50% damage reduction. So every time we pop Ascension, we get 50% damage reduction for 4 seconds. On top of the 50% we're gonna have from having our class stat above 100. So that's another 50% damage reduction with the overshield. You see how tanky we are? On top of that, with the void overshield, it's insane. This is the best build, okay? And then of course, amplified, boom. They missing their shots on us, and we get 15% damage reduction. So that's all the arc buffs out the way. All stasis, all strand, all arc, all void. That's everything, okay? That's everything. All solar, all that, okay? We're rocking faster protection because we will be trying to get close to person on purpose with Dustfield Grenades. So this is an extra 15% damage reduction. You pop Transcendence, this jumps up to 32%, I believe, because Transcendence alone give us 20% damage reduction. Okay. Faster to Ruin, just to get that extra plus 10 weapon stat. I'll be honest, that's all it's here for. We really don't care about the solar and the ignition being bigger radius and Shadow doing a little bit more damage. We got that for our Transcendence Grenade, but that's not on because of that. That's the purpose, like I told you guys, and then faster to hold to make our class ability come back even quicker so we can get our Ascension back quicker. These are things we have on to like mitigate the fact that we don't have Emos Light on, okay? So we got our way to get class energy back quicker with the slow aspect and faster to hope, and yeah, and then we have on Devour for our grenade to come back quicker, for Dustfield Grenade to get spammed more often, and then Threaded Spike, it just come back quick because you can just grab it, right? You should always have your Threaded Spike on you. Just learn how to grab it, okay? Armor mods. We have a 1 super font, so we have 100 super stats. So we can just use our tether as quick as possible when we come back. We have one special ammo finder so that we can have more ammo for our Buried Bloodline, but trust me, the ammo economy in Buried Bloodline is not bad, so you will have it uptime pretty often. Harmonic Siphon, so Buried Bloodline can make orbs. We don't need to worry about Chrono Roulette because it has attrition orb on it. And then we got our Vault of Glass armor on too, so we really ain't that worried about it. So if you want to put something else on besides Harmonic Siphon, you can, but that's the much energy I had in my helmet. We have on Impact Induction, so whenever I do damage with my melee, I get grenade cooldown as well. Melee font, just add a little bit extra damage to my melee, my Threaded Spike, because it was nothing else put here. And then we have Focusing Strike, so when I do melee damage, I get class ability energy back. Chest piece, we got resist mods on. And again, this is what I had on doing that Light Blade gameplay at the beginning. I did not spec into Light Blade because usually you will run 2 arc resist and then 1 concussive dampener. I didn't do that. Okay, so just let you know, it could have been even more tankier in there. We got on Void Weapon Surge and Strand Weapon Surge just to get that 11% extra damage to Barrier Bloodline and Synchronic Roulette. We got our Innovation on, just pick up Ore the Power non-stop, so we always have Dust Field Grenade on us, since we will be making ores very consistently in this build, like very consistently. We have on Reaper, so whenever I use a class ability and kill somebody, make an orb. Class Font on, so that plus 20 above 100, so we get that 50% damage reduction overshield from using Ascension. And then we have more special finishers, so we always make ammo for Barrier Bloodline 24/7, because again, you're gonna be having armor charges like water in this build. That's why you want your HP stat to be, you know, somewhat up there. You could even replace Innovation with Recuperation, just get that extra HP, and literally all the ores gonna be raining from Atheon's Memory and Synchronic Roulette with the attrition orbs. All the ways you get orbs in this build, you should never die in this build. Never. You can literally just turn your brain off, play with this build. That's the build, guys. If the video ran long, so I want to tell y'all everything I was running in this build, because it's the best hunter build, and I'm a hunter main, so I like going through it. Okay, that's the build. It will carry you through any content. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys as always. And until next time, stay up.